Hello everybody, I am Raw Toast and welcome to another First Impressions and Review. Today we are discussing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the newest game from Rocksteady Studios, a studio that brought us the Batman Arkham series starting all the way back in 2009 with Batman Arkham Asylum, but their first game being Urban Chaos Riot Response, a PS2 title from back in 2006 with the studio founding in 2004. Suicide Squad is a follow-up from the Batman Arkham series which takes place 5 years after the events of Batman Arkham Knights. In this time, a catastrophic event has taken place in which the supervillain Brainiac has launched an attack on the city of Metropolis, which is where Superman lives. Brainiac has killed 99% of the population of Metropolis, and the remainder he is transforming into his minions. The beginning premise of how the Suicide Squad is formed is pretty much the same from the film from 2016 by Warner Brothers, who also published the game. You are lovingly coaxed into Task Force X, my god, aka the Suicide Squad, by a rather convincing argument of an explosive device in your head. Deadshot, Harley Quinn, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang must do what they can to survive the onslaught, take down Brainiac, and of course kill the Justice League. The overall gameplay of the game is a third-person loot and shooter, very similar to the Division 3, or Division series rather, and Borderlands, but with considerably better movement options and verticality. As is custom with loot and shooters, you must mass fight mobs, collect loot, often swap out your gear for better stats, and invest skill points into skill trees, with each character having a different array of skills and differ with weapon types. The game features 3 skill trees that complement different play types, and throughout the game you meet many key characters of the DC universe, who all play their part in the world and story. I played this game for quite a bit of time actually over the course of this evening when I was playing on my stream. I did buy the early access version of the game so I could potentially get this out before the game releases. I believe I'll have this out a few hours after the game releases, so I do apologise about that, but life be busy sometimes, my friends. But so far, there's been a lot of very, very negative press around the game, saying it's going to be very, very bad and all these kinds of things, which is why I really wanted to get the review done, so I can see if I can address some of these concerns and problems and all these types of things that people had regarding the game, regarding its monetization and the overall premise of the game, with a lot of people saying, who asked for this and things like that. I will do my usual pros and cons list and all that kinds of things, which will start in a hot minute. But I don't think the game is as bad as what everyone says, or at least has been saying. I have played a good portion of the game, tried out all the systems, tried out all the characters, and so let's continue with the old pros and cons list, my friends. So we can discuss those pros and cons in detail, and then I can give an overall score on the game, what I think the game is, and we can always go from there, my friends, and you guys can tell me what you think down in the comments. So we'll start with the pros. The game has a streamer mode. I'm a streamer. I really like this. I think this is really nice. Basically, the streamer mode just removes copyrighted music from appearing in the game, basically. That's the only thing it does change. There's no, nudity or anything like that. There's not really ever nudity in, comic book style games and movies and that kind of thing. So, it's just the music. But I'm super happy that is an option. It is really, really nice to see that in more and more games these days. And this is very frustrating when you have to risk a copyright notice, or muted audio from something of your stream or YouTube video. It's just very frustrating. Fun combat. The combat, honestly, is pretty fun. It is kind of nice. It is repetitive, but that is sort of the genre of third-person loot shooters, or loot and shooters in general, in my opinion. It's kind of this always going to be sort of the same. Go here, kill a bunch of mobs, grab some loot, be on your merry way to kill the next group of mobs. But it's kind of fun. It is very fluid and very just nice. The guns feel rather impactful. The takedowns you can do are kind of cool. And just some of the moves look really, really sick. 4 playable characters from the start. You are not limited on who you pick. You can play as Deadshot, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Harley Quinn whenever you want. The only time you can't change characters is during a mission, which is totally fine, because you can smash out a mission in 20 minutes, and then you can just swap over to King Shark if you're playing as Deadshot, for example. I played through all 4, leveled them up a bunch, got them all new gear, and I found they were all quite different, very, very much so, in terms of how they traverse the environment, because everyone has their own little gadgets, which you steal from the start. I won't tell you how you get the gadgets, because I feel that's kind of fun when you discover that for yourself. But Harley has like this cool grappling gun, Deadshot has a jetpack, and a few other odds and sods which are just really, really cool, because they're all very unique from each other. They all feel rather different, they all move very, very differently. No fall damage. It's super nice. As someone who dies very, very regularly to fall damage, especially in games like The Witcher, there is no fall damage. You can fall from 6 million stories up and you'll just land on the ground like nothing happened with your splendiferous vibranium ankles, which is absolutely lovely. I appreciate that so very much. The environment. I really like the environment. The whole thing takes place in the city of Metropolis, and it looks really good. It looks like a real lived-in city. Like, it's nice areas of the city. Some has been busted out due to conflict. Some are still looking pretty nice, apart from some dirty streets and a few bodies here and there. But it is what it is. There's a war happening right now. But I think the environment looks really, really cool. I really like how they've built the actual city itself. I think it looks good, which then goes on to my next point, lots of verticality. There is a thing for me where, at least I think a lot of people have this, especially with games like Spider-Man when they came out, that you can go really high up, you can swing from buildings, you can just enjoy the landscape from the top of a ginormous structure of a building. I really like that. It adds a lot more depth to it, and it feels like it's much more expansive than it really is. And the map is, which also then comes into our next point, the map is really fun to traverse. So you're swinging and climbing and running and driving and flying and all these cool things. It's just generally quite fun to actually explore the map. Even if you get into combat often, it's still just like cool to sort of look around. Well optimized. I have not had really any frame drops except for a couple loading in areas. That's about it. It's honestly been really, really crisp, really smooth. I always cap my frames at 60 just because when I stream, Twitch can't really do more than that, so it's kind of like a waste of resources while I'm streaming. But I had, like I said, I think I went down to 58 like twice. Everything was really, really good. It was running quite smooth. I had no graphical bugs except for one small little thing in one cinematic, which went away after like half a second, so unless you were looking for it, you wouldn't notice. So the optimization is quite good. Well written. I will say the dialogue for a lot of the characters is very much in character for a lot of the characters. Some of it might be cringy and just downright annoying, but it's what the characters would say. Like Harley says some pretty annoying stuff sometimes, but that's absolutely what you would say. Captain Boomerang, being a very, very Australian individual, says some very outlandish things and very crude things, which, is something his character would do. And I have really, really appreciated the characters' writing in that regard. It feels like you are generally interacting with these characters or playing as these characters. Which then comes once again onto my next point, my friends, in the old pros list: solid voice acting. Voice acting on point. Absolutely on point. I have been thrilled with it so far. There's some extremely talented voice actors in this game. They've done an absolutely fantastic job, and they've also utilized the voice actors very, very well. You would have seen over the years in certain animes, cartoons, and other games and everything, where they'll give a voice actor a script, they'll give them no direction for the script, so they're supposed to be giving very powerful, sentimental lines, but they'll say it as like regular conversation because they don't really know the context behind this. This, they were giving clear direction, which is very, very nice. Fantastic audio. Once again, the audio was very, very good. When you got someone talking to you, if you move behind like a pillar or something, the voice gets distorted. So it takes the environment into account with its audio balancing. The weapons sound great. The combat sounds great. Been quite good overall so far. And a main hub. I've always quite liked like the whole base of operations in games where you can go back, you can change your gear, you can use a merchant or whatever it may be. The game has actually a really quite a cool main hub. Like I said, I don't really want to tell you what it is because I feel like that's a bit of a spoiler, even if you do get there within like an hour and a half of the game. I think it's cool to discover what that hub is for yourself. Now, we will then just move on to the cons, my friends. I had a few cons which, look, I explored the game quite a bit, and some of these aren't too bad. Some of these are just annoying, and some of these just like, why is this in the game? Too many systems thrown at you. You get given so many systems at the start of the game. It's like you need to do like these 4 button combinations to do this, and then immediately like a minute later you get another 4 button combination, and then another one and another one. There's just a lot thrown at you all at once. You just need to space out these instructions, space out these systems, allow me to absorb what you've just shown me before you present me with the next system. Like, slow it down a little bit. 4 character tutorials back to back. So you play as 4 different characters. They all play differently, have different skills, move differently, etc. But the way the game starts, the first 30 minutes of the game is 4 back-to-back, like, 5-minute tutorials. It's just annoying. I don't like that presentation of the game. I like how they brought all the characters together through gameplay, but I don't like how there was just these annoying tutorials that kind of meant nothing in a way. It was just like, okay, cool, here's how you shoot a gun. Sick, you're now at the meeting spot. I just don't particularly like them, to be honest. I just thought they were boring, dull, and annoying. Cash store. Now, cash store is always something people love to discuss. And myself included, I will say, I've never really minded cash stores. It all depends on what they sell, how much it is, and so on and so forth. It does have a cash store. It's a co-op game. Alright, fine. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but you know, it is what it is. But it's also damn expensive. It is $7.55 to buy an emote. That is a lot of money. That is a whole lot of money. To get some of the skin sets, it was like $60. It was so much. It was as much as the game. There's a battle pass in the game, which I am labeling as a con. I have no problems with battle passes, generally speaking. I still stand by the fact that Epic Games with the Fortnite Battle Pass really perfected that system. Their Battle Pass was absolutely astonishing in my opinion. I just think this is a game that doesn't really warrant a Battle Pass. I don't think it should be in the game, and I'm kind of confused as to why it's in the game. We are in a very interesting time where, for the last several years, where it's been a trend of throw a Battle Pass at anything and just go from there. Pre-order weapons trivialize the early game. Now, like I said before, I got the pre-order, the deluxe edition pre-order, might I add, which I wouldn't have purchased without the early access, and I got the early access so I could make this review and stream it for people who hadn't bought the game yet before its release. You get given a bunch of pre-order, like, your weapons, which really trivialize the early game. Like, you start with a gun, let's just say it does like 500 damage. In your inventory, you have a gun that does 5 times that. Why give these to me at the start of the game? Why not just give me a different gun with pretty much the same stats as the entry-level weapons? Yeah, I'm going to turf them all pretty soon eventually, because it is a loot and shooter, but why give me weapons that are going to trivialize and make the next 3 hours of gameplay just a whitewash, even on the hardest difficulty? If the start of the game is bad, you want to get the player to rush through it as soon as possible, don't give them a tool to rush that experience, give them a better experience. And obviously that is easier said than done, but if you think that, giving people, access to higher level weapons early on to blaze through it is a good idea, I disagree. I think it should be scaled to the level. Start in future, then rewinds. This is not necessarily a con of the game, this is more just my overall thoughts on stories being presented. Like, I kind of like them, they're okay, but I do prefer the whole build up to the situation where the game started, rather than start in the future, rewind time, and go back to here, and then just do it all again until you get to there. I've always just preferred having the linear story from start to finish rather than end, start, end, you know what I mean? Forced online play. Now, me personally, I'm never really against this, generally speaking, but I do think it's bad if it's a game that you can play single player. The whole premise of the game is single player, and the reason why I say it's not overly bad is because you're always sort of going to be online, you're always going to be connected to the internet, but when the servers go down, which they did in the early access part, even if it was to fix stuff, whatever it may be, they still went down. I don't think that's a very good experience. I think it's kind of annoying, because if it's a game that you're playing exclusively single player in a private lobby, invites turned off and everything, and if a server goes down, you can no longer play, and I think that's kind of annoying. Heavily limits car combat. In certain missions, you get to use a car, like a flying car with missile launchers. The whole Suicide Squad jumps in the car, and you go blasting these pesky alien critters, and it is extremely fun. It is so much fun, but it is so heavily limited in the game. It's like, okay, cool, I get to use the best part of this combat system for the next 3 minutes. It's like, you had such a fun aspect of this combat. You got such a cool system, so fitting for the DC universe, of these really awesome beat-up ramshackle weapons that's almost like a DC version of Mad Max on the Fury Road. It was so cool, and you just heavily limit the player from actually being able to do this very much. I think it's definitely a downside of limiting one of the best parts of the game. Early gameplay is very bad. The early gameplay for about the first 2 hours is about as spicy as a bag of flour. It was boring. It was just unexciting, uneventful, didn't really care for it. There was nothing particularly fun until I exceeded that hour and a half, 2 hour mark, where the open world opened up. I can actually then traverse it and explore what the world had to offer. That's when it became actually quite good. But the early game, like I was saying before, in regards to the weapons as well, was just genuinely bad. I really feel like that is always the worst possible decision you could do. That is clearly the first impression someone will always have of your product. If you've made the start bad, you've not given them a reason to continue to the end. You've not given them a reason to continue any further than the starting point being bad. You just need to make the start of the game as fun as it is in the midpoint of the game and the end point of the game. I know it seems like, to some people, it's a ridiculous thing to ask for, but I don't think it is. If you can make a really good middle part of a game, you can make a really good end part of the game, then you can definitely make a really good start part of the game. And the last thing on my cons list, this might sound odd given my previous feedback regarding the environment itself, but a lot of the buildings you can't explore. It'd be really, really nice if you could just explore some of the buildings, go inside of them, check them out, and I just think it'd be fun. I just think it'd be really, really cool. Some of the buildings you absolutely can, but it's just very, very limited on what you can do. I realize that the game's focus is meant to be on the outside, and that's totally fine. I am happy with that, but I do think if you could explore more of the interiors of the larger buildings, it'd be really quite cool, and you could have some really interesting aspects within those buildings. But that is, so far, the end of my pros and cons list. I have some strange things on that list. I have some really, like, more personal cons rather than gameplay cons or whatever it may be, on that list. But that's fine, because this is a review from my subjective point of view and my experience. But so far, I'm honestly really enjoying the game. I don't see why it's had such a heavily negative press with it. I do understand that there was some negative press regarding Rocksteady was very hesitant to giving out review codes, specifically to IGN and a few other media outlets. And I think that's extremely bad. It is not good. It implies that the game is not going to be good, and they know it's not going to be good. But the game overall is actually quite fun, quite good, and the story isn't bad. It's not quite what I was sort of hoping for. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be some end-of-the-world scenario where you have to, save the world, effectively speaking. I was just kind of hoping it'd be more of a, I'm not really sure, more of a, I guess, leveled experience in terms of world-ending experience. Like every sort of JRPG that I've ever played in my life. But that's fine, honestly. That's totally fine. Like I said, I'm enjoying the game, and I think it's quite good. And I honestly think it's worth a buy. I think it's quite good. It is expensive, though. It is $105 on Steam. And for those who are watching this video, the game is out. It came out on February 2nd on Steam, and console releases as well, like the PS5, the Xbox, and so on and so forth. Not the Switch, though. I believe it did not come out on the Switch. Switch can't handle much, let's be honest. You all saw the new Mortal Kombat game that came out on the Switch. But in any case, my friends, I think the game is very, very good. I think it's very, very good, but it's not a perfect game. It's certainly not by any means some sort of perfect overall experience that you can have the greatest time ever, it's your forever game, and that whole fabled thing that people are always after. So the way I do my numbers, as some of you may or may not already know, 1 is a piece of shit game, don't bother fucking playing it. 10 is the greatest thing ever, or at least for that year, Game of the Year material, and 5 is average. Not bad, but not amazing. I have very, very distinctive sort of like numbering system rather than like certain platforms where they do like 7, but the game is very, very bad, when I think that simply just doesn't make sense. Like 7 out of 10 on a test is really, really good. So I would give this game a 7.5. I'm having fun. I'm looking forward to playing more of the game. I'm going to be finishing the game. I'll be finishing on my Switch. My stream, not my Switch. If you'd like to check out my stream, all those splendiferous links are in the description below, so it'd be absolutely lovely to have you there. So guys, what did you think of the game? Did you buy the game? Or were you hesitant because of the negative press around it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to have a chat with you and love to see what you feel about the game. But friends, this is the end of the video. Thank you so very much for watching and have an absolutely lovely day.